Bach's Christmas oratorio wasn't ever intended to be performed at one go in one evening. The idea of doing it in a concert is actually completely, well, not wrong, but it's certainly a modern idea. The cantatas were each performed on individual Sundays across the Christmas and New Year period. So it's always nice to choose 3 or 4 of them for an evening concert to show the diversity of Bach's music. And that's the wonderful thing about Bach's cantatas, not just the Christmas ones, but all of them. Every time I do a new one, you find that's where Bach's workshop really was. All of the fantastic colours that appear not only in the Christmas oratorio, but all of his other cantatas are present in these works, and they're phenomenal pieces, but they were never ever intended to be performed at one go in one evening. The thing about Bach's instrumentation in these cantatas is that it's incredibly varied. Of course, you have the very ceremonial and celebratory elements when you have the choruses with the trumpets and the timpani. That's a very standard idea. The trumpets, not military, but representing the angels. That's a very important idea for Bach, the trumpets as angels, not just as generals. But the other thing about Bach and his choice of instrumentation, often it was driven not just by representational ideas, like all the oboes and, for the shepherds, but also by practical concerns, who he had available to be playing that Sunday. So the diversity of instrumentation is not just a mental, a specific mental idea, but it's also driven by his practical considerations at any weekend that he had to find out exactly what instruments he had available at his disposal and write for that combination of instruments. So that's often, not particularly necessarily in the Christmas oratorio, that's often why Bach's instrumentation is so diverse, is that he perhaps only had 1 oboist and 1 violinist and a gamba and a block flute player. So that's what he had to write for that weekend. But no, the palette in Christmas oratorio is huge and varied and incredibly spectacular. It's always interesting doing Bach with a modern orchestra. The instruments have changed so much, but I think if you have an incredibly flexible and sensitive bunch of musicians like we have in the Rotterdam Philharmonic, it's been an absolute joy working with them, then it is possible to get somewhere close to the sounds that Bach had. Of course, you'll never absolutely mimic them because the instruments are just intrinsically different. They do different things. The tuning of them is different. And with the old instruments, there's much more unequal tone colour across the range and also in the intonation. And that's what Bach worked with and enjoyed and used. So that's something which is more of a problem to come to with a modern symphony orchestra, but as I say, with a fantastic and sensitive bunch of players, it's very possible to get very close.